Hey y'all, I am ready to be done with YouTube, but this should be an extremely non-dramatic moment. So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about my history on YouTube, why I do what I do, but mostly talk about what I want to do going forward. In a nutshell, though, to get it out within the first 30 seconds or so, I'm moving everything to Substack, or most things to Substack. So if you don't follow my Substack yet, please do so. Love to have you there. Now, a lot of you guys are here for different reasons. Right? And back in the day when I used to blog quite regularly, which even now, even being at Substack, I don't actually blog traditionally very much. Substack started for reporters, but it's actually a wonderful social media writers platform, except that they have video and audio support as well. So all sorts of writers, reporters, artists are on there. I follow a bunch of people in the world of education. So I used to blog on Joffrey the Giant. A lot of you guys are here because of that. And I would write about a lot of theological, anthropological, cultural stuff. And I got onto YouTube because of the pipe smoking stuff. And when I did that, way back in like 08, 09, I think. I don't remember what my first video was. Actually, I think that's worthy of me pausing to check. Yeah, so in 09, I uploaded several poems and a video called How to Smoke a Pipe, How to Smoke a Pipe. So this was in 2009 on another channel. And the channel at that time was called Silverchair Bookstore because I owned a bookshop. And, I was just throwing stuff out there, early days of social media, to see how people responded. But one of the things that happened was that pipe smokers found me through the How to Smoke a Pipe video. And I wasn't even that avid of a pipe smoker at the time. So for quite a while, I started a new channel, which was Joffrey the Giant, and that's what YouTube was for me, was pipe smoking and the community that formed around it, and even better, the Christian community that formed around it. Eventually, of course, my blogging and my pipe smoking stuff sort of dovetailed. That was the first phase of my time on YouTube. And some of you guys date from back then or found me years later from the pipe stuff. And then there was a sort of period where I just started doing whatever I wanted to. And one of the things that I've never done with the video stuff and with YouTube was to try to grow it, right? I didn't follow any of the strategies. And in fact, the periods in which the channel grew were the periods in which I was closest to doing the smart thing for channel growth, right? So when I was specific, right? So I did the pipe smoking thing, and people were into that, came for that, and kindly stuck around after that. A lot of people did. My YouTube community was huge when we moved to Brazil in 2015. At that point, I was already just kind of doing whatever I wanted to on YouTube. But people used Patreon and were a significant part of our income while we were in Brazil, for which I will always be grateful. Shortly after Brazil, we ended up in Albuquerque, and that also, I started doing videos about being in Albuquerque, and that popped off as well. And those people, they haven't stuck around quite as much, although several have, and some have become part of little online communities that I'm a part of. But people, man, Burqueños, people in Albuquerque, responded in a huge way to just some guy saying positive things about their town. And that was very cool and very gratifying. Moving away from Albuquerque, though, of course, that content dried up. And so I, again, just sort of started doing whatever I wanted to do, whatever I was interested in at the time. And again, you guys can you can just look at my videos on my channel and see which ones have views. And it'll, I was never really responsive to that. I just kind of did whatever I wanted. And moving to Moscow, there are people who, like, so one of the things I'm noticing is lots of people have moved to Moscow. Most of these conversations I have with Christians, but I've had them with non-Christians as well. When people move to Moscow, they tend to see my videos, which is pretty awesome. But there's not a lot of engagement, right? And that's really why I've always done what I've done. So for example, like one of the things I often bring up, and you may have heard me talk about this before, for a while there were 2-3 years back in the early 10s where YouTube had a video response feature. Like if you are a little younger and you see like VR and you know that it stands for video response, well, that kind of came from like an actual culture of video response started to emerge. It was one of the things that made the YouTube pipe smoking community so successful and effective that you could actually have conversations by video, but like public conversations, right? So you could say, billiards are best for 5 minutes. Billiards, that's a kind of pipe. And then a guy could reply and say, church wardens are best. And people could comment, but like interacting with these actual video responses. I loved that. I've always been about the conversations and the community, right? That was one of the very cool things about the Patreon thing we used to do. The Discord server was something for a while. Eventually I kind of moved away from it. So I'm aware that, whatever community I get is, whatever I put into it. And I appreciate all your guys' patience and interest over the years and the comings and goings. And I think that's a very natural friendship thing anyway, coming and going. I also stopped blogging at a certain point, probably, right around, I guess, when we went to Brazil 10 years ago. So I still write occasionally for the public. I write a lot of poetry. And actually, I have a second manuscript in with the publisher for a new collection of poetry. Hopefully, I'll have some news for you guys on that soon. But a few months ago, I started on Substack. I was following some other people's Substack, and I was really, really impressed with the social features that Substack has. Okay, so find me, joffreyswaite.substack.com. I'll put the link below. It has a lot of features that are Twitter, X-like. It has a lot of features that are Facebook-like. It has some features that are TikTok-like, dare I say. So it's very cool. So, for example, there's a chat feature where you can host a chat. One of the chats I'm following but not participating in is some people geeking out about the Song of Roland. And some people are bringing in like Sir Gawain and the Green Knight into the conversation. And it's rowdy, y'all. So I'm just enjoying that aspect of things as a reader and as a listener. But then also the responses I get on Substack are much more gratifying, right? So for me, it is about the responses, the conversations, the community. So please join me. Just to give you an example of what's on Substack right now. The latest post it's today's election day, of all days to post this. An election day poem, Wolf's Teeth. So I've written this very rowdy poem about Election Day and wolves and teeth. Then in a little article called You Have a Mission, which I actually had published on Joffrey the Giant a while ago, a poem called Promise. That video that I posted recently about why statues are so ugly now is up on my Substack. A little article about the logic of truth, beauty, and goodness. Another poem, and then an article about the beauty of poetry, etc., etc., etc. Okay? I can post notes, which are like tweets. So I not only post some of my own things, but the stuff from other people. So a friend of mine who shared Jesus Christ the apple tree, and I put that up there. Or a friend who wrote an article about the mead hall of the living God. Or just some picture I snagged from Twitter with a funny sign for a strip joint. Or a picture of my son in a ridiculous Spider-Man outfit. Yeah. I mean, this is kind of like Instagram, Facebook, X, all the things. And the notes and chat stuff don't go to your email inbox, but the articles do. Okay? So that's where I'm moving. My Discord, I've sort of shown back up in there a little bit, and I'd like to get that rolling again. So what's going to happen to the YouTube channel? Again, if you're into just kind of following along with Joffrey the Giant, I want you in the Substack. I want you in the Discord. That is where I would love to be able to have some engagement and some back and forth. I will do occasional videos, I think, about my church and Moscow, because people are very interested in that. So if something comes up, right, so I'm not going to delete the channel, obviously. I am going to put a bunch of videos kind of back in private. I mean, you guys, a lot of you guys have walked through this journey with me before. But also videos that are about Moscow as a place to be, and also like travel and, you know, restaurant and that kind of thing videos. And if I ever want to do something like that, like a hamburger review, that'll go up on YouTube. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much moving to Substack. So I would love to see you there. I've enjoyed my ride on YouTube. As I said, very non-dramatic. This is just me, like, kind of feeling like I'm done talking on YouTube. It's sort of, yeah. There's no reason to talk bad about anything. I mean, YouTube's been great. I've loved YouTube. But what I mean is it's just sort of dried up. It doesn't inspire me. So I'd rather be somewhere where where it works well for me in the sense. I actually think that some regular Substackers might not enjoy how I do things, right? Because it's really started as a platform for writers. And there's going to be a lot of video and audio from me, but, you know, on Substack. Okay, so moving on. Hope to see you guys there. Drop a comment somewhere on Substack to let me know you've appeared. And maybe even pop into the Discord. Okay, the peace of Christ be upon you.
What day is it today? Remind me.
It's Sunday, Mr. Pinch.
Sunday. And what do we do on a Sunday morning, wherever we happen to be? We go to church, you bloody heathen!